#1 cable news show 11 years and counting. The O'Reilly Factor.
Thanks for watching us. I'm Laura Ingraham in for Bill O'Reilly. And in the Factor follow-up segment tonight, just how much is this debt ceiling showdown hurting the president? Now, as we pointed out yesterday, the left is turning on him, and his poll numbers as a result are down. Joining us now from L.A. is Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall, an Obama supporter, and from New York, Andrea Tantaros, a co-host of the 5 at 5 here on FNC. All right, ladies, give us your take. Leslie, let's start with you, okay? Because I'm hearing from my friends, and yes, believe it or not, I have a lot of liberal friends, and they'll whisper in my ear about things. They seem to be annoyed either way. They're annoyed by the Boehner bill. They want it to go down in flames, but they're also annoyed that this president seems to have given up too early on things like tax increases, increased spending, and so forth. What's your take?
Well, I don't disagree that there are some on the left that are angry. We know that to be fact. I'm angry with the Reid bill in the sense that there is no tax revenue. But at the end of the day, we as Democrats, we as Americans, we need to look at what is going to be worse for the American people, going into default or having not everything we want in a bill. The best negotiation, both parties walk away, getting some of what they want, leaving some of what they wanted on the table. I don't see the same polls, Laura. I have seen over the past week and a half support 56% in the past 48 hours of Americans who support a combination, which is what the president has been proposing all along, which includes tax increases along with government spending. And I see the American people angrier at Congress and the president, and more so at the Republicans and the Democrats. So I don't think things are as bad for the president as some might believe. And I don't think Democrats are going to come up with a candidate to run against him.
Andrea, you're looking at the Gallup poll here, and it looks like a lot of the people in the public, they don't much like the way John Boehner's handled things. They don't much like either the way the president's handled things, although Boehner scores a little bit lower than Obama right now. Then again, his approval numbers are still not hot. And if this thing continues to drag on, how is he helped by any of this?
Well, I think it depends on what happens. I mean, I think if we would default, that would hurt the president significantly. I think that if they do get some type of big deal, the media is not going to write the headlines that the president capitulated on spending. I think they're going to write the headline that the president saved the day when he's giving that Rose Garden ceremony. Now, I don't disagree with Leslie that he has lost support on the left, but people like Leslie are going to still support him in the end.
Where are they going to go?
They're going to come out. Right, exactly. Where are they going to go?
Is there a primary challenge to Obama that I'm somehow missing? I mean, the Tea Party folks, when they're mad, you hear about it, and I'm with them 99.9% of the time.
Right.
That you hear about it. When the left is mad, you hear some a few grumblings from Dianne Feinstein and others, but there's not going to be a Tea Party-like challenge to Obama.
Right, but I do think
race,
to answer your question, I do think there's not going to be a primary challenge. I do think, though, he has been hurt by this far worse than his team ever expected. I think, Laura, they are shocked that it has gone on as long as it has. I think that they thought they could just paint the GOP as crazy. And think about this. The president came out and said he wanted a clean vote on the debt ceiling. He wanted taxes in there, and he didn't want a short-term deal. And now, if you listen to what Ed Henry said, he might not get all three of those. We know he's not going to get two. So, look, I think he's lost big. I think that what he promised the American people, he'd bring them around the bend. I think he's taken them down an alley of dismay and demagoguery, and I think he'll be judged for that in the end. I think they're very unhappy, but I will say the Republicans, they don't look that great right now because leadership, it's often tough and politically to lead. You will get punched. Barack Obama stays out of this. He doesn't want a black eye. He doesn't want to get hit.
Yeah. If Republicans eat their own, they're certainly they're not looking too good. If they look like the gang who can't shoot straight in the end. It doesn't help them in this at all. But Leslie, look, here's where we are right now with the president. He didn't come out with his own plan. We didn't hear from him for the longest time on this issue. And suddenly, even media folks, not just Ed Henry, but others are asking, okay, what about your ideas? What about your plans? And he looks like, for the longest time, he was MIA on leadership. And that's what has also frustrated, I think, a lot of these Democrats on Capitol Hill. And so they're left with all the burden, and they're left with all of the heavy lifting to do.
Laura, I couldn't disagree more, and I still am not able to shake the fact I've agreed with Andrea for the first time in my life on some issues here. For the president proposed his plan back in April, and it was last Friday, I believe, when all the press wanted to leave early for the weekend because it's the summer, that he went line by line. He offered $4 trillion in cuts. He also said, standing apart from his party, so I believe he was being a huge leader, because it takes guts to say, look, it's going to hurt. Eat your peas. Here's the deal. I'm going to talk cuts with Medicare. Right, because the Republicans walked away from $4 trillion, and Republican writers and talk hosts were like, what are you doing?
John Boehner walked away, Leslie, because he wanted more spending in the end. He changed the goalposts in the middle of the conversation. They had agreed on something, and then suddenly it was changed because I think Barack Obama had heard from some of his liberal pals, and that's how it went down. And so Boehner was like, you know something? I'm done here. This is what we stand for. We're not going to increase the debt limit by any more than we cut. And in fact, we want to cut more than any amount we increase the debt limit. Those are my principles, and I'm willing to die on that hill. I mean, I think that's what he said, and that's how it all broke down. And when the president came out
and he's going
on Friday, I thought he looked incredibly weak, and I think he looked weaker when he came out this week, basically saying the same thing. I don't know why he had to speak twice.
Well, so I disagree totally, and I think that the Republicans are caring more about Mr. Norquist, about their pledge, and about the Tea Party than they are their party, their constituents, and the American people, and it's hurting them. John McCain said it, and Bill O'Reilly just said it a little bit ago.
But in the end,
I mean, this is helping the president.
We've heard the president say the buck stops with me. He's the one that's on the ballot at the end of the day. So as much as people don't like to see Congress in chaos, I think that this really does do severe damage to the president. He is ducked when he came out with no plan to blame on Monday night and interrupted TV. I think that really hurt him.
All right, Andrea, Leslie, we appreciate it. And in a moment, Geraldo Rivera.